So, picture this. A new king has been born. Now, this isn't just a piece of news. It's a declaration that absolutely demands a response. In this explainer, we're going to dive deep into the second chapter of Matthew's Gospel. We're going to see how the arrival of one single child forced everyone, from foreign scholars to a deeply paranoid king, to show their true colors.
And it all kicks off with this simple but totally world-changing question. It's asked by these mysterious visitors from the East. You know, their arrival in Jerusalem isn't some quiet little affair. It's a public announcement. And get this, they're not just looking for a baby, they are looking for a king.
And that's really the heart of the matter, isn't it? This announcement wasn't just sharing information, it was forcing a choice. It literally drew a line in the sand, dividing those who would accept this new king from those who would reject him. Nobody could stay neutral.
All right, so first up, let's talk about the Magi, or the Wise Men. Their story is the perfect example of a response of active, worshipful seeking.
What's so amazing here is who these men were. They weren't the religious insiders, the people you'd expect to be in the know. No, they were Gentiles, outsiders, astrologers. And yet God revealed this incredible event to them in a language they would understand, the stars. They saw the sign and, this is the key part, they actually got up and did something about it.
You know, their whole journey is like a blueprint for anyone who's truly seeking truth. Think about it. They observe the sign, they ask for more information, and then they follow the guidance they get, both from the star and, kind of ironically, from the scriptures that the religious leaders in Jerusalem pointed out. The very leaders who knew what and where but couldn't be bothered to go see for themselves. For the Magi, though, the journey ends exactly where it should, in worship and generous giving.
So this is it, the climax of their incredibly long journey, and their response just says it all. Without a moment's hesitation, they fall down and worship. It's an act of complete and total reverence. And then come the gifts, which are just loaded with meaning. Gold, a gift for a king, frankincense, used in the worship of a god, and myrrh, an embalming oil that in a way pointed to his future suffering and death.
So the big takeaway from their story is that their entire journey, from that first glimpse of the star to the moment they offered their gifts, showed a heart that was totally ready for worship. It wasn't passive at all. It was an active, determined pursuit.
Now that worshipful journey, it's a universe away from the reaction of the guy who was already sitting on the throne, King Herod.
Yeah, Herod wasn't exactly thrilled to hear about a rival king. The news brought him this deep, gnawing fear. The word used here is disturbed or deeply troubled. And if you know anything about Herod's history, this was a guy famous for his paranoia, a man who literally murdered members of his own family to protect his throne. Well, this reaction is perfectly in character.
So what does Herod do? He plays this incredibly sneaky, deceptive game. He calls the Magi in for a secret meeting and puts on this big show of piety. He pretends he wants to join them, even using the exact same word they did, worship. But it's all a calculated, cold-hearted lie.
It was just a mask, right? Underneath all that pious language was a cold-blooded, murderous plan. His fear of losing power was so intense that he was already plotting to eliminate this newborn king. While the Magi sought to worship, Herod sought to destroy.
So when Herod realizes the Magi aren't coming back, because God warned them in a dream, his fear just boils over into pure unrestrained rage. He lashes out with this horrific violence, ordering the slaughter of every single male child in and around Bethlehem 2 years old and under. Just a brutal, terrible atrocity, all born from a desperate attempt to snuff out any threat to his power.
And this is where you see the two kings side by side. And man, the contrast couldn't be more stark. The Bible sets up this massive difference between the false king, Herod, who clings to power by taking life, and the true king, Jesus, who would one day give his own life to save others.
Okay, so we've got worshipful seeking on one side and fearful rejection on the other. But there's a third way, a response of quiet, faithful trust, and it's embodied by the man tasked with protecting this child, Joseph.
It's amazing, right? While Herod is scheming in his palace, God is already moving pieces on the board, providing a way out. And just like before, God speaks to Joseph in a dream, giving him this direct, urgent command to save the child. Now, what's so cool about this is the pattern. Just look at Joseph's response every single time. It's immediate. It's unquestioning. He flees by night. He comes back when he's told. He changes his travel plans when he's warned again.
He just consistently trusts God's guidance, even when it means packing up his family multiple times and heading into completely uncertain situations.
And here's where it gets even deeper. Matthew wants us to know this wasn't just some frantic family running for their lives. No, Joseph's obedience, this whole trip to Egypt, it was all part of a much bigger divine story, one that was actually fulfilling ancient prophecy.
Matthew pulls out this quote from the prophet Hosea. Now, if you look back at Hosea, he was talking about God calling the nation of Israel out of slavery in Egypt. By using that verse here, Matthew is showing us something profound, that Jesus is the true Son, who is sort of reliving and completing the story of Israel. It shows that God's perfect plan is unfolding, even in the middle of a human crisis.
So what does all this mean for us, right now? Well, these three very different reactions from over 2,000 years ago, from the Magi, from Herod, from Joseph, they're not just a history lesson. They're a timeless challenge that's just as real for us today.
Let's just quickly recap. You've got the whole range of human reactions right here. You've got worshipful seeking from the outsiders. You've got fearful rejection from the guy in power. You've got faithful obedience from the humble guardian. Oh, and let's not forget that fourth response, pure indifference from the religious leaders. They had the scriptures, they knew the right town, but they didn't bother to walk a few miles to see if it was true.
And that's the bottom line, isn't it? You can't just sit on the fence. This story makes it crystal clear that when you're confronted with the reality of this king, everyone has to choose how they're going to respond. Even ignoring him, like the scribes did, is a response.
And that leaves us with one final, very personal thought. These ancient responses are basically mirrors. They reflect the exact same choices we all face today when we're confronted with the claims of this king. So the question is, which one are you?